Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Mile High Game Guys Board Gaming Podcast. I am your host, Adrian.
I am Zach.
And I'm Jeff.
And we are here with a discussion episode, trying to balance out the reviews and the discussions, mixing them up, things like that. So this week, we are going to be discussing board gaming players? I don't know. This one's a hard one to describe. And we'll see how this discussion goes. We're going to do it in traditional Mile High Game Guys fashion, where we have a vague idea about what we want to talk about, and then we just throw words at that idea until we're satisfied or we're tired, whichever happens first.
I'm tired.
All right, we're done. There we go. It's over. That was a fun discussion.
My leg hurts.
So this is one that's kind of been brewing in our podcast chat that we have amongst the three of us for a little while as we've been brainstorming discussions. It's kind of popped up here and there. I initially got the idea for it, I don't know, back in like April or something, when I saw somebody posted in the board game group a thing about whether or not people agreed that there was an element of snobbery to the tabletop world in general. And kind of talked about like how, especially amongst like quote unquote hobby gamers, as we all kind of would fall under, you know, the way they look down on things like Monopoly and I don't know, Snakes and Ladders and Candyland and like some of those like mass market games. And then, you know, the discussion in that thread kind of went in a way where they talked about like, well, what about like, you know, you run into people who like really heavy, crunchy games and they look down on things like Cards Against Humanity or Apples to Apples or like light party games, you know, like there seems to be like tiers of like this group is looking down on everybody and then the group right below them is looking down on the people below that. And like, is there this snobbery in the hobby? And that kind of sparked the idea. Like I said, way back in April. At the time, we didn't feel there was quite enough there to do discussion on it. And so we've kind of been building on it a little bit and trying to mold it into something resembling a topic we could talk about. And that's kind of where we are now. We're like, we want to talk a little bit about like who we game with, like what kind of gamers we look for when, you know, we're not super regularly, but often enough adding new gamers to like our closer circle of gamers. You know, what makes somebody like, hey, I want to play more games with you,
right? Specifically,
versus like, you know, things that are like you play a game with somebody maybe at like a meetup and you're like, I'm cool if I don't actually play games with you anymore. You know, kind of what we're looking for that. And then kind of going hand in hand with that, the kind of gamers we try to be, like what we try to bring to the table to where maybe we're the person that somebody's like, hey, I want to play games with you in the future, versus them being like, guys, I don't think I want to play games with that Adrian guy anymore. He's kind of a dick. He just railed about how 18XX is better than every game we played tonight. That's just not fun for me.
The most perfect components possible.
Yeah. So that's kind of what we want to talk about. It's kind of a weird, nebulous topic. So it'll be kind of probably a weird, nebulous conversation, just like all of our other discussions ever. Don't expect structure. It's not what we do here.
Not at all.
No.
Just feels wrong.
It really does. So to kind of kick things off here, let's go ahead and set the tone. I feel like some of this is we're going to have to really be careful here because we don't want to resort to just this being a pointless discussion where we just say the obvious, right? Like I don't want this to be like, hey, what kind of gamers do you want to play with? Well, I want to play with fun gamers. Like, what kind of gamers do you not want to play with? I don't want to play with jerks. Like, I think we can cumulatively find a little bit more nuance.
We found our shortest episode ever.
All right. Well. So there we go. We found out what we like to play with and what we don't. So let's just real quick around the table what kind of gamers we try to be, and then we'll just close it out and we'll be done.
I try to be a fun gamer, not a jerk.
I also try to be a fun gamer, not a jerk. I know I struggle with it sometimes, but it's what I go for. Jeff, what about you? You just lean into the jerk?
Real hard.
Okay, cool. There we go.
Blood Bowl or death. You heard about Blood Bowl?
Our Lord Nurgle?
Nuffle.
Oh, yeah.
Nurgle's just a team.
Yeah.
That's right.
You idiot.
But it's not the god of fucking Blood Bowl.
Oh, I feel so talked down to.
Yeah, you should be. I was talking down to you.
All right. So let's start this off a little bit. Let's talk about what kinds of things we think just in general make for good board gamers. Like not skill wise, but like people you like playing with. What are some of the traits, because if people watched us play games, they might not understand why we play games with each other. Because you run into situations, you play a game with somebody who's like a close friend, and there might be a lot of like, fuck you, you blocked me, you Jeff, you bitch. Why did you do that? God damn it, Zach, stop stabbing me in the back in this game, man. I trusted you.
Yep. Adrian gets mad, and then we make fun of him for getting mad.
Yeah.
So an outside observer might be like, Adrian, why do you play with those people? They make you mad all the time. But obviously, I enjoy playing games with you guys, and I keep doing it. And
feel
it's
like
not
it's
because
not
I'm a
obvious.
sadist. It's not. Well, I feel like it's obvious that I keep playing games with you.
Yes.
It's not obvious why.
Yes.
So I'm hoping to delve a little bit into the kinds of things that we think make for a good gamer that somebody on the outside might be like, I don't know why you play with these people. So, Jeff, what kinds of things do you think make a good gamer in kind of a general sense as far as like enjoyable to play games with? Like at game night, you sit down and you play a new game with 4 new people. What's something that would make you be like, one of those 4 I really want to play with again? What stands out?
Well, first of all, I would probably like all 4 of them to start with because they're wanting to play a new game. That's something I enjoy. Something that wants to try something new and not just break out Catan or Carcassonne or Codenames for the millionth time. And that's why we look down on those games. But I always like someone that wants to try something new. It's like, hey, that's a new game that I've never heard of before. Let's play that.
Bouncing off that, what if it was somebody who's new to board gaming? Like for them, Catan is new. And they come to you and they're like, I want to play Catan. And you're like, I don't really want to play with Catan. But you do play with them because they're new and you feel like, I don't want to be a dick because we're not dicks here. At least not to strangers. What would be something that maybe like playing Catan with them as them being new and being excited about Catan that might still stand out?
Just introducing them to Catan-like games. Like, here's another game that might have some of those same mechanics in that will broaden your horizons. Here to teach.
So you'd want them to be like receptive to that, like
yes.
Okay.
I want them to try new things. I don't want them to play the same thing over and over.
Okay.
Unless it's Blood Bowl.
Unless it's Blood Bowl, and then we're playing it forever. And I have for like 7, 6, 8 seasons now. Jeez.
I just saw Jeff's eyes, and it was just sort of a almost what have I done with my life? But
it was definitely a like you stare into the abyss and the abyss stares back.
Yeah.
Moment there.
A little bit.
What about you, Zach? What are some things that for you kind of stand out just on a personal level that make you want to play a game with somebody more than just the one time?
More than just the one time.
Like I'm talking things like that really like you're like, holy shit, I want to play with you again. Not like, I'll play with you again if you happen to be another game night again. Like,
right.
You might want to go out of your way to play with that person.
So I mean, I definitely would follow Jeff a bit in the new thing. Someone that just wants to play new things is definitely good, especially for us.
They'll fit well in the group.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
But then also someone who doesn't take even heavier games, like doesn't take them too seriously, is fine. Is fine if they don't lose, or is fine if they don't win, rather.
I'm fine if I don't lose. I do real good when I don't lose, guys.
Doesn't try and min-max things. Like, it's just more of, it's just being a good environment for playing games. Because I definitely, even if I'm not playing social games, I do prefer a social atmosphere. So, joking around and I can understand if it's your first time, with new people, that people tend to be a bit more reserved.
Yeah.
I mean, I get that.
Yeah,
I feel like
you gotta draw it out. Like, people are inherently reserved, usually.
Yes. But usually you can tell if it's like they're new, like it's because they're new, or that's just how they are.
Yes.
And also on the other side, if they're not too intense. Because there are some people that I'm just like, oh, it's exhausting. Like just being around. But it's all very subjective. And then there's also, I don't know, just something, I don't know.
Amorphous blob.
Yeah, chemical X will say that.
the je ne sais quoi.
Yeah, that it's just like, there have been some people that have been fine, except for whatever that was, that maybe were like, no, I'm okay. Yeah. Or the ones that are like, yeah, no, like I should find all your opinions annoying, Paul, and yet somehow I'm hanging out with you.
This is going to be a really heavy shit on Paul episode. Just getting that right out of the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily as focused on the playing new game side of it that you guys seem to mention there.
And I really just say that just because we have to play new games all the time. So
yeah, I mean that's a good sign if somebody really likes keeping up with the newest and greatest. Like, if I like Jeff, the guy we were playing Cryptid with, who is like, actively on his like BG stats and his BGG, like, oh yeah, I log my games, I do this, I do that, and like, seemed like he keeps up with new games. Like, you'd probably be fitting in well with this group, considering the propensity for this group to constantly be bringing the latest and newest and flashiest game. Like, and not just the three of us. Like, our game group at our Wednesday meetups are that way. Like, a lot of the people there, they pay attention to Kickstarters. They're, games are showing up, new games week after week after week as things show up from Kickstarter or new releases that just come out in retail, things like that. So that's a good sign that somebody will fit into the group as a whole.
Yeah.
So I agree with that. For me, on more of a personal level, I find that the people I really want to go back to playing games with, I do agree with you, Zach, that people who, especially at game night in particular, don't take things too seriously. Like, if there's one thing that will kill game nights for me, and it's tough because I like heavy games that are typically thinky and more drawn out and more prone to AP, but game night, especially on our Wednesday meetups at the brewery, I hate when people really get into the, like, I'm going to math out my last, like, 3 possible points that might get me 1 point above third place into second place.
Yeah.
Like, I'm fine with that more in a casual, like, hey, we're meeting up to play a game more seriously, like, us 4 specific people at one specific house on a Friday night. But on a Wednesday game night, it's like, dude, I want to churn some games. I want to hang out with people. I want to socialize. So don't get too caught up in the minutia. Don't, if you find yourself APing, like I like the medium heavy side of things, for somebody's like, I don't really know what to do, so I'm going to just do this and see how it works out. Like, I can really appreciate that. Like,
you can appreciate that
and pull levers
game night, but I know it can annoy you.
Oh, it can very much annoy me, and that's where there's kind of a dichotomy.
But I mean, the public versus private.
Yeah. And it's really game night's a completely different environment for what I'm looking for, But that's something that, and it's a fine line, I guess. I don't know, God, because a lot of the people I play games with outside of game night are people I meet at game night. Like. A fairly recent addition was Blaze. He started coming to game night. He likes heavier games. He was playing something with you, talking about the games he likes. And you're like, oh, you need to go talk to Adrian about 18XX.
I didn't say it like that. I said, you should go talk to Adrian about 18XX.
There was much more doom and gloom in it.
Yes.
Yes. Like, oh, I thought you were a cool person and we'd be able to play games, but no, you need to go talk to Adrian. You're Adrian's friend now.
Yeah. Go into that corner. All right, it was nice meeting you.
That's where all the nerds live. All the cool kids will be over here playing Arkham.
But one of the things I really liked about Blaze is, like, I could see that he was interested in the thought process behind the games, and like that there are, like, he was looking for good decision space. But we played Vanuatu at game night, and he got housed. He got so fucked in that game, and he just took it in stride and was like, yeah, it's no big deal, and didn't get super bent out of shape.
Yeah, he took the Jeff approach.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The Jeff approach is the best approach.
Yeah. Just lose all the time, and it's fine.
Well, not lose all the time. I mean, that does help me because that's one less person I have to beat to get first because I care so much about winning. But more taking the losing in stride. It's
something that Adrian's not good at.
It's something I'm not good at, and I super respect in people who are good at it. So those are some things that kind of stand out to me. So since mine kind of verged into that, like, different, like, I have a distinct difference in what I'm looking for in a player between, like, a public meetup kind of gamer. Like, I'll play with a much wider spectrum of people in that situation than I would in my private games, so to speak. What about you guys? Is there a difference for you guys, Jeff? Do you feel like there's a difference in who you would want to invite to one specific game on one specific night versus who you'd play with at a game night, or are you pretty wide open across the board?
Yeah, pretty wide open. It's definitely a different type of game you would be playing at the thing, but that's the only real difference.
I mean, well, so for me, it definitely is because like I like to play heavy games that don't work. Like a lot of the games I want, I'll never play an 18xx at game night. I'm just not ever, even if I had willing people to do that, it's not the right environment for 18xx.
The brewery isn't open long enough.
You're not entirely wrong. But I know you guys' taste in gaming is different than mine. So you might be more willing to, like, some of the games you would want to play outside of game night might also be ones that work at game night. Is there any difference for you, Jeff? Or not really?
Not really.
Okay.
Yeah. Besides, like, in reference to like who I want to play with.
Yeah, I would say for me, who I'd want to play with becomes a lot more restrictive. But that's just when I'm outside of game night, I just want to hang out with my friends and play games with them. So, I mean, I'm okay. I've never been one to usually introduce other people to outside gaming, but I'm what other people do. Like, I mean, that's how I first met Paul. That's the first time I remember meeting Paul, because occasionally I'll meet people and I have absolutely no memory of them until some further time that I'm just like,
now I know this person.
Yeah,
now.
no. I remember, like, I was actually talking with Shion, and I was like, I remember the first time I saw it, like, it was the first time we met, and it was like you and Dan were coming in, and she's like, no, we met this other thing here. And I was just like, I don't remember that.
See, I still remember the first time I met Shion. She's one of the few, like, that made enough of that impression, mostly because Shion's just a ball of pure energy.
Yeah.
That's usually makes kind of an imprint.
Yeah.
See, I feel like I remember the first time Paul showed up, too. Like, I feel like Paul's was strange.
First time I remember is you're like, hey, there's this guy that lives nearby. We're going to play Le Havre. That was the first time I remember meeting Paul.
Well, and I think that was probably the second time I hung out with Paul.
Okay.
Is like Paul came to game night, and that was one of the rare moments of me actually being a good game night host. They come up occasionally.
Yeah.
And he came in and like was doing the clearly like wide-eyed new person. I was like, hey, you seem new, chatted with him a bit, kind of like I did with you, Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
Like you showed up, I was like, hey, are you here for game night? Oh, shit. Chit-chat. Now you're my friend.
Now let's ruin you at Splendor.
Yeah. I don't remember the first time I met Jeff.
It was probably during that game of Splendor.
Probably.
Which I think was also at Strange.
Yes.
Apparently Strange is the place where I remember meeting people the most.
You know what Strange is full of? Strangers.
And their whole motto is strangers are just friends you haven't met yet.
Yeah.
So.
Even playing Cryptid this week. Met two new people.
Honestly, I even want to say, when Adrian first asked me about doing the podcast, and he was like, oh, I was also going to ask Jeff, and it's like, cool. Who's that again?
Which I think I asked Jeff about the podcast the first time when he gave me a ride home from Strange one night.
Yeah.
So, I mean, granted, we go to Strange once a month, so there's a lot of Strange.
There's a 25% chance.
Yeah.
I had been going to game night for at least a year.
Really?
I think so.
It was
we
not a
started
year.
the podcast in June.
Yeah, but we started talking about the podcast in like September.
Yeah.
We talked about the podcast for like
Maybe
6 months before we did
it. Maybe. Yeah, because this would have had to been around that first time we went to Gen Con.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways.
But no, so but the more I think about the people who I've made regular friends with at game night, it's not people I've played games with, it's people I've just met casually at game night and been like, you're my friend now. I don't care if you like it or not.
We're going to be best friends. No big deal. That was a Cable Guy reference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it still holds up.
It does. It's a good movie.
Is there things we hate about people?
Well, I didn't know if we were ready. I was trying to debate whether I was ready to move on to the negatives, because I feel like there's a lot more to cover in positive traits.
Okay.
Like we covered what we look for, like what things make us want to play with people specifically. And I feel like there's more, but I feel like it's one of those things like, it's be like, what are some other good traits? It's be we can come up with a list of good traits.
It's like, here's a good trait, not being shitty. Like we could do that.
Well, Laura could say things like, because I don't want to get too obvious with shit. Like I don't want to be like, well, I don't want to play with a racist, because no shit, I don't want to play with a racist.
But that might be good for people that are racists.
Yeah.
Like, hey, just so you know, people might not want to play with you, and the reason is because you're a racist.
But this other racist, you two be good friends.
But kind of, I feel like racist might, like, that's an extreme example. But I've noticed, talking to Megan about, like, people she's played games with, there's been times, and it's one of my favorite things when this happens in the specific way that it happens sometimes for her. We'll be at game night, and she'll meet some new people and get involved with the game. They'll be like, her and, like, 3 guys.
Oh, I think you're, okay, all right.
And one of the guys will be like, hey, hey, I want to play Catan. He'll wrap, like, 3 people to come play Catan with him, and one of them's Megan. And then he starts explaining the game, and maybe he's not explaining it well. Megan's like, well, actually, no, you do this. And he's like, oh, I know, and then, like, gets really up. And you're like, Megan will try to explain it. Maybe she's like, I'm feeling like Catan. She'll get 3 guys together to play Catan, and one of the guys will be like, oh, no, this way, and, like, kind of talk down to her.
Yeah.
And then she just fucking houses them. And then she's all, because in the car, she always feels really good about it. Like, yeah, that dude totally did not understand that I know how to play Catan. I've been playing Catan for like fucking 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really good at Catan. Fuck that shit.
Yeah.
But I've been in games where I've seen somebody like explaining the rules and clearly talking down to somebody who's a woman who I know is a very accomplished gamer. And like, that's something where it's immediately like, come on, dude.
Yeah.
Like, you're clearly the only person at this table you're talking down to happens to be the only woman at this table. And I don't think that's a coincidence. And like, so there's like, it seems obvious, but you can see small issues that come up in that kind of thing that then those are the same people you see online who are like, well, I don't know why more women don't want to play games with me. Because you talk down to every woman who wants to play a game with you, dude.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Yes.
Seems obvious, but people miss out on it sometimes.
And I want to say, too, I think one of the reasons why I feel at least that we don't, and feel free to be like, Zach, you're not making any sense, that we don't see more of those type of people is that we're not really, like, I feel like they will tend to come out more at, like, local shops and things like game days at shops and things like that, whereas ours is already a big social event.
Yeah.
And so there's a hurdle that some people have to go over that I feel like they don't. I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I feel like you don't make it very far in social circles if you regularly talk down to women.
Yes.
And so, yeah, you're right. Like, they might fit in at, like, some small back corner game shop where it's a bunch of other dudes playing games and women are exceedingly rare.
Yeah.
You come to our game night, and granted, women are far less represented than they should statistically be based on population numbers.
Yes.
But there's still a fair amount of women that come to our game nights. So people who can't make that social jump, like, I don't know. I see what you're saying. It's hard to, yes, I agree with you, Zach.
Venue is important.
Yes.
Yeah. And it also helps, I feel like, that our group doesn't tolerate some of that bullshit. Like, as the broader whole, like, we've talked a lot of times about the person who got really offended in Werewolf when 2 guys were made to be the lovers.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that it's a game and in no way, shape, or form indicates any kind of homosexual relationship other than you, Jeff, are now the lover of Zach in this game. You're sitting on opposite sides of the room. You make eye contact specifically once to see who your lover is, and then that's the extent of your relationship.
But
until one of you die.
That fucking eye contact, though, man, it is.
It's steamy.
Scandalous.
Yes. Yeah.
Sparks. But there was somebody who had a real problem with that.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where, like, our group doesn't really take that bullshit. Like, because that's bullshit. It's stupid.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's another reason we don't see a lot of that at game night. I feel like the people who do display those kinds of things are the one and done variety of gamers in our group.
Yeah.
Are there any other negative traits you don't like to see? We've kind of segued nicely. We don't like to see jerks because jerks suck. So what other things suck?
Generally, I'm annoyed at people when they, like, you're like, all right, let's learn to play this game. And they're like, let's just play the game. We'll learn it that way. And it's like, that's not how it works.
Maybe a little learning and then playing.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, see, I feel like that's such a game thing. Because
Yeah.
even when I teach, there are some games where my teach is like, all right, we're going to play a round or two, and I'm just going to explain as we go.
Okay.
and then maybe we'll reset. Because there's games where it works better that way. Like, I get what you're saying. Like, you've explained for like 20 minutes, and you're about done, and they're like, oh, let's just start playing.
Yeah.
And like, no, we're right there. Let me just finish.
I just know multiple times it's happened, and I've been like, all right, fine, we'll do that. And then people start fucking up things, and it's like, look, you didn't let me finish the rules.
Well, it's always the player who said, let's just start playing. And then they're like, you didn't tell me that. Like, well, you said you wanted to start playing and learn as you play. So you're learning as you play.
I would say not having patience in any game is bad. And especially if you're like, unless you know the person, don't be like, God damn it, Adrian, you're taking so goddamn long.
Yeah.
Like, you know that I'm like 20% joking when I say that. So.
And that's the threshold. There has to be at least 20% joke in your like complaint for it to be valid. Or, well, not valid, but...
valid.
The complaint is always valid.
Yeah. There needs to be at least 20% joke for it to be an appropriate one before it's like, dude, just chill the fuck out.
Mm-hmm.
I hate when people get really huffy and competitive.
Especially, again, at game night.
Yeah.
Like, I really have been happy with overall our Wednesday game nights have fostered kind of this, like, they're more of a social gathering.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to play some games, but mostly you're drinking out and hanging out with other somewhat like-minded people. And I think that's the appeal. And so, when people get real huffy about shit, just chill out, bro.
Yeah.
Go drink a goddamn beer. If you don't drink a beer, step outside and take a deep breath.
Yeah.
Like, just chill somehow.
Some of my least favorite Blood Bowl opponents are the ones that get real tilted and huffy about dice and stuff like that. That's like, it's literally the game. Like, that sucks, but
Yeah, which is, like, for me, a reason why I just stopped playing Blood Bowl.
Yeah.
Because I get real huffy over dice. And so a game like Blood Bowl that is hugely dice dependent, if I was you, Jeff, and I was always the guy who beat everybody up for the next person to win, I'd be pissed. I mean, I'd be real salty.
Yeah.
So I know that about myself, and I take myself out of that. Like, I can play dice.
I just want a trash team to come play.
God, it's never going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
Well, maybe this week. We'll
see.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of other things that really stand out to me negatively at game night, especially. And I'm not for me, a lot of mine tend to be kind of what you mentioned way back at the start of this, Zach, like that just gut feeling, like, man, you've played well, you've been patient, you haven't been a dick, but for some reason, I just feel like I never want to see you again.
Yeah.
or rarely, it's more the, I don't ever want to play a game with you again. And I don't really know what specifically. It's rare enough that I haven't super zeroed in on what makes that gut reaction, but I mean, there is a little bit of that.
And I would say there are people that are like, I'll play a game with you, but I don't want to hang out with you. Or I'll hang out with you, but I don't want to play a game with you. But that's
what I really hope. Like, I don't know how many of our like actual close friends really listen to the show. I know a few do, like Paul and Wes. I know Richard doesn't. But I just imagine like all of the people that we casually hang out with and play games who listen to the show who are like trying to figure out where they fit into this. Like, am I somebody they're cool to hang out with, but they don't want to game with?
Yeah. Oh man.
Am I somebody they like to game with, but they don't want to hang out with outside of games?
I mean, I feel like that brings up like really, I think like my biggest pet peeve is probably like when someone just like can't really make a decision and like you put any sort of pressure on them and they just sort of collapse upon themselves.
Maybe put them in between both Zach and myself.
Yeah.
To really pressure cook these sort of decisions. And fold hard.
Yeah. But seriously, no.
The worst for me is definitely, it's not you, Jeff. It's between Zach and Paul. If I'm ever stuck between Zach and Paul, House of Cards just collapse. No matter what I do is going to be wrong, and I'm going to regret it later.
Yeah.
They'll make sure you choose the wrong decision as well.
Yeah.
They'll only give you wrong decisions.
Zach will give me all of the right decisions, then convince me they're the wrong decisions.
And convince you that that one decision that's sort of okay for you is your best one because it also works well for me.
because it's the best decision I could make for you.
Exactly.
It's not that it kind of works well for you.
Well, no, if it's actively bad, I know I can't be like, Adrian, I'll jokingly, say those things of like, hey, Adrian, you should just full retreat everything. Why? I don't know. I think it'd be funny, but you can't seriously do that. But no.
And then?
Right.
It really sounded like you had more to say there, Zach.
Yeah.
I just like that dramatic pause.
Yeah.
The end.
Great.
So then let's turn this discussion. Let's shift the focus inward. Let's look a little bit at ourselves.
Okay.
And let's do this in an interesting way. I'll start because I feel like I'm really well prepped for this. Let's talk a little bit about how we try to present ourselves, like how we try to be gamers. And I want to start this with a discussion of maybe like what are some of the flaws we know we have, things that we don't like about other gamers that we know we kind of do. And I don't know, this could just be one of those things where I'm setting myself up for realizing I'm a shit fucking person. I'll be like, oh yeah, these things that I know I do and I don't like in other people, I know I do and I try to work on them. And you guys will be like, I don't have any of that. And I'll just be like,
we're actually good people. So
yeah. But we've mentioned it a couple times, especially in regards to gaming, things like taking games too seriously. Like I'm a very competitive person. I have been my whole life. Going back as a kid, every little thing I've done with me and my brothers or me and my friends, like everything's a competition. I joke with Megan that there will be times in my life where like I'm racing somebody and they don't know we're racing because just everything's a competition.
Right.
Like in my new job, most of the work I do is in a clean room and I'm still in training. So I'm typically following somebody around and part of going into the clean room is smocking up. And from day goddamn one, I've been trying to beat whoever I'm with at being the first one smocked up. Initially, it was like, they got smocked up in like 2 fucking minutes, and I'm like 5 minutes in, like still doing something. It's like, clearly I'm missing something. I'm not practiced at it.
Right.
But now, 60 days into this job, I'm kind of caught up to where I'm smocking on the same speed, but I'm still constantly like, shit, they're already putting on their boots. I don't have my boots yet. God damn it. I'm just competitive. I know that about myself, and so it's part of why I don't like randomness in games. Like I like to win because I did well, because I did better. I don't like to lose because dice. This is something that anybody who listens to the show knows about me. It's talked about very regularly in our reviews and things about why I like and don't like certain games. I try to put that aside in game night. I try to be willing. There's some games where I just know, like, hey, I'm not going to play that at game night with like randos, because I'm going to get real competitive and I'm probably going to turn somebody off of ever coming to game night again.
Right.
Like, I would never, for a variety of reasons, I'm not going to play Blood Rage with randos at game night. I'm not going to play Blood Rage really ever. But I especially am not going to play it with random people at game night because it's going to bring out all of the worst in me and turn them off of coming to game night forever.
Right.
Because I know I can be that way. So that's something I try to make sure when I play games that I try, especially with new players, to not take things too seriously, to let losses come and go and just take them. And like, I try to turn what grumbling I do into more of a joking, laughing, like, I'm getting real fucked here, guys. Smile, it's real, I promise. But like that's something I know that is a struggle for me. I'm very competitive. It's hard for me to not always want to win. That's something and people don't like. You guys have both mentioned, like, we like people who don't take games too seriously. I take games real seriously. But I try not to.
I mean, yes, because there have been games that, like Rising Sun.
Oh, I actually legitimately feel bad because I know I ruined multiple games of Rising Sun for multiple people who otherwise enjoy that game.
Yeah.
Because fuck, that game made me real unhappy.
Right.
And I don't want to be that guy. I know I sometimes can be. I try not to be. What about you guys? Zach, what about you? Are there any negative board gaming traits board gaming traits. We don't need to get into life things.
I mean, okay.
Because my life things, I mean, I got a list.
Yeah.
I can start going down.
Yeah.
But board gaming wise, is there anything that you feel that you know about yourself that might not be an ideal trait that you try to work on? Trying to humanize all of this a bit, that sometimes people who display bad traits aren't bad people.
Right.
Some are.
Yeah. I feel like I don't have anything as apparent as that. Not to say that I'm better than you or anything like that.
But also kind of to say that.
No, it's just
like 20%.
That's 20%. No, it's just like I know I can disengage very easily. Like if a game, like there'll be times,
I do that too.
Yeah.
Especially when I'm like hard fourth or something.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. This gets me a point. Whatever. I'm still in fourth.
Yeah. And like especially when we're doing like 18x, like some of the heavier games, I'll be fine, and then it's just
the line.
There's just a line.
It's a hard stop.
Yeah, it's just and I'm done.
It's
yeah. No.
Are we far enough from the Battle of Winterfell that I can do a spoiler? Because it's definitely the I'm going now.
Yeah.
Foomp.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
The eyes just glaze over.
Yeah.
Foomp.
But then I do get annoyed when people don't look like they're like engaged with the game. Like I've seen that happen to you occasionally.
Because I try to do it.
Yeah.
But mine is usually much more negative. Like I'm like, well, fuck this shit.
Yeah, you're on your phone.
I'm out of here.
Yes.
I'm on another world.
Yeah.
You at least pretend to still be on my plane.
Right. See, I like how when I said mine, I still get to get another one towards
Yeah.
Yeah. You still get a curveball.
Yeah. I mean, and then I think people just getting like, and sort of tied to that is just people getting distracted from games.
Yeah.
Like it can be like, it's like we're trying to work in here, but then that's one, we're playing a game night. So that's shit I need to not focus on. But then I can still do that on occasion. And it's like, oh, it's fine. I'm just, it's one of those things where you're like, oh, I'm fine. I'm just talking here real quick. Then I'll just, I'll do my own thing.
Or some brewery owner just walks over to me and.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, Paul, what the fuck's that mean?
Yeah.
I'm just going to tell you again.
Yeah. And then I would say.
You're playing Hanabi in that example.
Yes. I would, and one of those things of like people keep asking the same rules over and over again. But I think for me, that's just because I hate not knowing things. And so I make sure to know them. And then I'm like, and it's like sort of a double standard thing. It was like, well, I know all this, so everybody should be as like pay attention and
knowledgeable.
It's like, yeah. And it's like, no, it's not. And not everybody will put in that effort or cares as much or anything like that. So
or just gets it sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
Like sometimes it, like for whatever reason, something about
a new mechanic
to someone.
Yeah.
Like you've played with a similar version of this mechanic, so you immediately get.
No, yeah,
it's this but different.
Yeah.
Whereas somebody else who's not seen the original mechanic is like, this entire concept is new to me.
No,
and
and
it takes a second.
Yeah, and I know that I can get things quickly. Mostly just because of like you said, the amount of games that we've played, you can look through things and be like, oh, it's like this. Oh, it's like this. But still being like, having somebody not get it can occasionally be like, how can you not get this? That's my own shit that I need to deal with.
What about you, Jeff? What's something that you, and I'm really interested to hear some of your answers for this, because we regularly talk about like how awesome you are as being like the Zen goddamn master of losing.
And you're just like, I just need to, like you're just sitting at a table and you're just like, I just hate everybody like you all the time.
You apparently check out but don't, like, I don't notice it with you as much. Like I see the hard stop in a heavy game where Zach's just like, nope, done, eyes glazed, over. Yep. I know myself enough to where I hit like a randomness factor in like turn one where I'm like, well, I'm going to be here for the next hour and a half, and I'm just going to go through the motions. You seem to not, you at least put up a damn good front when you check out or something. But like, what might be some of your things that you don't like in other people that you kind of do, and how do you deal with that?
That's the secret. I've always been dead inside.
Man, it's pretty close. I've just been like, I've lost so much that I just know how to check out without anyone knowing.
You're winning that game, Jeff.
Yes. Jeff's having a great time.
I will say there have definitely been one or two games where I've been like, okay, even Jeff is like, no, this is just...
Was it rain related?
Yeah, a little bit.
That's been the hardest one in a long time.
Yeah.
Just I can check out because my impact on this game has been lessened, or something like that.
Right.
I always have a hard time trying to figure out how well to explain a game to someone, not knowing, like, I don't want to talk down to anyone.
Yeah.
And I'm always really conscious about, like, asking them questions to be like, hey, how much of games do you know? Because I really don't want to make this awkward by trying to explain something to you that you clearly already know.
Right.
I struggle with that a little bit too, especially because, like, I don't want it to seem like I'm making you go through, like, I'm not trying to, like, gatekeep you, I guess. Like, I don't want you to, like, you need to, have you played this? Have you played this? Like, what standard do you live up to? Like, I don't want it to be like that. I legitimately need to know what your comfort level is.
Yes.
So I know how to approach you on a level you're...
I would agree with that,
man, that's a tough... it's a tough thing to come across because I don't want to seem like I'm talking down to you like, hey, what games do you like?
Or be too high level and just totally leave this person in the dust that has no idea what's going on.
Like, yeah.
No, yeah, that's
Which
that's
I
definitely...
can do, like, probably too often, is just go real high level with everything and then just be like, oh, sorry.
I just assumed you guys were all podcasters who talk about games every week for 5 hours a week.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, there's definitely been times when you play someone and it's like, oh, this is like, I've heard board games are fun. I wanted to come. And you're just like, okay. And, like, it and it sounds really shitty to say, it's a struggle to keep it that low for, like like you said, it's very...
No. Yeah. Because you, especially I knowing both of you and knowing myself.
Yeah.
For me, I want them to like board games.
Exactly.
Like, sweet, you've heard good things. Holy shit, I want this to be a good experience for you.
There have been times when I've talked to people about board games and I really have to, like,
dial
back just to be like, especially when I'm giving a lift ride or something like that. And they'll be like, oh, you like board games? Well, we're going to have a conversation.
Things like Monopoly, right?
Yeah.
Somebody's like, what do you do for fun? Well, I play a lot of board games. I do a board game podcast. Like, oh, like Monopoly?
No.
Well, yes, like Monopoly, but also at the same time, not at all like Monopoly.
It's hard to explain that whole universe of board games that have popped up.
Because people are from, like, almost everyone knows of board games. It's just where they are on that scale, whether they're on the very far end of, like,
the mass market end.
I know of the mass market things that I've seen, like people who think Twister's a board game. It's like, it's an activity that nobody actually ever does.
Yeah.
Somebody buys Twister because they hope to get laid someday, and then they never do. But
then there's the, like, Catan, Ticket to Ride, things you've seen on a Target shelf.
Which, and those, as much as we gave Mark shit on Wednesday for ranking Carcassonne so high.
Mark the Monster?
Mark the Monster.
Mark the Monster, yeah.
I can get why people rank things like Carcassonne and things like that high, because they're... if somebody comes in, they're like, hey, somebody introduced me to Carcassonne way back, some family member or a friend, and I really liked it, and that got me into board games, and now I'm here at Game Night, and I really only know Carcassonne, but I want to know more. Well, I can be like, well, what do you like about Carcassonne? You can kind of build off that.
You got to find, you're basically fishing, and you find the one thing that they're like, oh, Carcassonne, and you're like, gotcha. And
and even somebody like Monopoly, like Richard, like, oh, I like Monopoly. It's like, okay, I can maybe work with that.
Yeah.
So
it's just
explaining games to people.
Oh yeah, that's what we were talking about.
Not being a dick.
Yeah.
That's what I heard. Is Jeff struggles with not being a dick.
Yeah.
I struggle with not being competitive. You struggle with things you struggle with.
Yeah.
And Jeff struggles with not being a dick.
Yeah.
Unintentionally a dick.
Yeah.
With explanation.
Mm-hmm.
So, most of this conversation so far is focused around game nights. Like, public events where anybody can show the fuck up and play games with us.
Which this is obviously through the view of our game nights.
Yes,
of
our specific at a brewery.
At a brewery, like 30 to 50 people, so it's not like... It's a very different situation when you're talking about, like, oh, hey, this person comes in and wants to play Catan. If you don't want to play Catan, you can usually
pawn them off
in a way that doesn't seem like that. Whereas if it's like, even if like some of the smaller ones where it's like 6 people show up and one person's like, hey, you gonna play Catan? I just got this game. And then you're just like, okay, well, now you gotta think about it.
Yeah, no, how do I tactfully handle this?
Yeah, no, I will. If someone is except for very rare cases, if someone is enthusiastic about playing a game, I will play a game with them.
Yes.
Because I like seeing people enthusiastic about the hobby, and then
seriously,
through that you can expand expand to show out. Like, there have been many times where I've recommended games to a lot of people based on, like, through the games we're playing, it's like, trying to get a feel of what they like and what they don't like, and then trying to recommend games based off of that.
Yeah. So to transition a little bit from that, from the more public, like our game nights that are kind of our own specific thing. I mean, other people do those style of game nights, but I don't know if that's really the norm for gamers. So let's talk a little bit about more private gaming, because we do a lot of gaming outside. Like, game night for us is one night a week. We do a lot of we game. Some of us sometimes, when jobs aren't making us work 6 out of 7 days, we game multiple nights a week.
Yeah.
So what would be some things that, like, if, say, somebody showed up for the first time at one of our off game nights, like, you know, you mentioned, like, some of the first times you remember, like, Jeff or Paul or things were when they came to an outside of game night. It's like, once they leave Wednesday game night, they become real. Yeah, everything in Wednesday game night is just ephemeral,
right,
and barely exists.
Oh, this is an actual person now.
Yes.
Okay.
You're object permanent now.
Yes.
What would be some things that you think might, once they've reached that point, that there's somebody you would game with outside of game night, is there anything that would make you change on that to where, like so you were fine to play games with at game nights in public in broad situations, now in private I realize I don't want to play games with you anymore?
Yeah. I would say, because we tend to do longer games in the private, in our in the private setting, that you can see some, like, you can just see how certain people react to things that you didn't see before. Like, there was people who we would hang out with and play games, and in a social setting it worked, but then when you tried to get, and, like, especially because a lot of some social games you can, like, jokingly antagonize.
Yes.
And then you play longer games and you realize, no, they're just being antagonistic.
Yeah.
And then,
like, that's not playful banter.
No.
They're just a dick.
Yeah. Especially, like, really, I think people resistant to changing behavior. And I mean, in the sense, if someone is like, hey, you should, you should, like, you're really doing this or whatever, you should probably tone that down or something. And they'll be like, oh, okay, my bad. But say if you are like, hey man, you need to hurry, turn up, because you're taking a while, and then that person then specifically and intentionally goes even slower than they were going before, and you're like, all right, now you're just being like, someone called you on something you were doing and you're just like, no, I'm gonna lean into that.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, well. And then also, like, any sort of mad outburst that, like, hitting tables and things like that, and pieces going out everywhere, like hitting people, like the pieces hitting people, although that person did hit someone later. But
I feel like you've been talking about one specific person
a little bit
like the start of this.
A little bit, yeah.
And I feel like there was a brief moment where listeners were probably like, oh, Zach's talking about generic, and then you're like hitting things. They're like, Zach hates Adrian because he slapped a floor once. And it's not me you're talking about.
No, I'm not.
You slap a floor, pieces don't hit anyone else.
No, exactly.
You hit the floor, the floor maybe hits back, I don't know. And then it gets turned into a emu meme.
Yes, exactly.
By one of your fans.
Yes.
So.
No, but I mean, realistically, it just becomes now I'm going to be judging you as a person.
Yeah.
Like you said, now they're a person, now I'm going to judge them as a person, that maybe things you can sort of look past in a gaming setting. It's like, now I'm judging you on how you handle yourself in life.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially, like, in that particular instance, like, we're at your house.
Yeah.
Like, you invited us over to do this thing. and now you're having these reactions that are incredibly negative, that are not really out of place, like ruining the experience.
But it was just more of a clarifying for us to be like, okay.
It was like, it wasn't out of character, because it was like all of a sudden all those things you realize that you kind of glossed over before. It's
exactly.
Like, oh no, those were red flags.
Yes.
I thought those were
you tend to use
something else.
Yeah,
I glossed over that.
You tend to wear those. What is the quote from BoJack? Is that when you're wearing when you look at things with rose-colored glasses, red flags just look like flags.
Yeah. So I could see that.
Yeah.
Jeff, what about you? Has there been anything that you can think of that, Zach and I obviously have this very crystallized experience that really stands out as somebody who had gotten brought into the quote-unquote inner circle and then was immediately like, nope. Has there been things like that for you that stand out where like, or just something you think would be a situation like that where, oh, no, I don't really want to hang out with you anymore? Because I feel like with that example, Zach, for who we were talking about, if it wasn't for the physical violence that occurred later, that's somebody we might have still casually gamed with.
I would say after that moment of kicking Bob out of the house,
yes,
and it was his game. Like after that, we were just done with him. In that, like people saw him occasionally, but it was definitely like not any more contact really from us.
Okay,
so
it's also been a long time.
It's been a while. I want to say 4 years at least.
Yeah.
I can't really think of any because I mostly just go to you people's houses to play games.
Right.
And I haven't had any real negative affairs, long-term emotional damage from any of these.
Right.
Even thinking back to
we're clearly not trying hard enough.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that was like we learned from that, and now we just tried to give people less the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
In private.
Yeah.
I
mean, I feel like there's an element less that we've gotten this like shell or whatever.
Yes.
More we've reached kind of a critical mass.
Yeah.
Like it's almost a 1 in 1 out kind of a thing. Like somebody we regularly game with kind of drops off the radar or moves away or something. We pick up one person, and every once in a while we might pick up a second. Or like our groups are also, especially as our 3 individual tastes kind of solidify. I feel like there is a little bit of a branching out. Like I definitely have some of the people who are on my list. Like I feel like playing a heavy game tonight. I'm typically not immediately messaging you and Jeff unless it's a heavy game that we're going to review. I'm like, I just want to casually play a heavy game that we've already reviewed. I'm not like, hey, Zach, I'm trying to put together some people for an 18XX. Do you want to come over? I'm like,
right.
I know Zach's not going to enjoy that, so I reach for other people. So I don't know.
Well, and speaking on that too, so that's from the side of like us inviting other people, because I feel that's that is more, not contained, but that's just more familiar, right?
Yes.
You're inviting somebody into your house, so if, whatever. Anyway, I think you know what I'm saying with that. What about the opposite? Because I know, like, I would say you've done that the most of going to, like, especially like when you started getting into the heavier game scene with heavy cardboard and stuff like that. Like you were getting invited to its own, a different setting than our group.
So I'm actually really glad you brought that up, because that's a good kind of perspective on this that I hadn't really thought of including, because something I've realized, like I know about myself just in life in general, I can at times be very shy, kind of closed off.
Yeah.
Like I can definitely like, man, the walls are in tight today and they're nice and tall. But other times I can be like, fuck it, I'm social butterfly. I'm talking to everybody and doing everything. Game night brings out like the more social side of me. Like I can talk to strangers and be real friendly.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
But
like, I know for me, conventions, you'll probably notice that I'm like, okay, well, let's see where Adrian's at. I'm gonna go where's Jeff? I'm gonna go hang out with him. But like, I will I would never go to convention by myself. I know that.
Yeah. I've gone to a few conventions, like one or two truly by myself. And I don't kid myself. Like when I talk about having my shy side, it's a very small part of me. I definitely am more on the open and gregarious side. Like, I'm the kind of person that can go. Last year, I went to Origins to work with
Deepwater Games.
Deepwater Games, thank you. And they gave us a hotel room and a badge and everything. And like, I showed up, and they were like, "Yeah, they're twin beds. You're gonna have to share with somebody. By the way, here's this person you've never met before. You're now sharing a bed with them.
Sharing a twin bed."
I think they were queens. I think it was a pair of queens.
Okay, that's norm. I was like, what fucking hotel is just having twin beds?
No, I think it was a pair of queens.
No, yeah.
I mean, they were.
No.
They still weren't.
No, you're not wrong. No. Queen, like sharing queens is still like
reasonable.
You can tell the other person's there, but
although these beds were like somewhere in between because like Megan and I have a queen bed, and there are times like especially in the dead of summer when it's super hot that it's like she's on her side, I'm on mine, and there's like a gulf of like cool mattress in the middle that you don't breach. But like
in this Deepwater situation, who was the big spoon? Who was the little spoon?
So it was, and I'm sure they don't listen to this show, but it was Danny of Danny and Derek Do Board Games.
Okay.
And Danny's an absolutely delightful individual, and he was definitely the big spoon. I don't know if he's the big spoon in his personal relationship with Derek, but he was the big spoon at Origins. No, he did at one point kind of encroach, and I had to do the like I've shared enough beds with people in my life. I've gotten good at the like, you're crouching my style. I'm going to give you like the I'm maybe still asleep elbow. Like, oh, this is me stretching. No, that's really me trying to jab my elbow into your ribs so you roll over. But no, like, there's a lot of people who would never put themselves in that situation to share a bed with a complete stranger. And I'm like, fuck it, I don't give a shit. So I know I'm on the more socially open, gregarious side. But to your point, Zach, going to some of these other events and things, like, I'm always, especially the first time, a little bit self-conscious. Like, the first time I went to Heavy Cardboard, I was like, fuck.
Well, and especially because I remember you talking about this, like, you brought beer to drink because you've always associated drinking with beer, and then you were like,
no one else took a beer. Like, holy shit. I was like, do people think I'm an alcoholic? Because I'm having a beer at 6 o'clock on a Saturday, like while we're playing board games. Like, I'm sorry, I drink beer when I do games, But even that first time going up, I super doubted my cred. Like, this was a board game podcast that was specifically all about heavy board games. They were heavy gamers, and although I'd had more interest in heavy stuff and like some of their games they really raved about, I knew I liked, like Agricola and the Harv and things like that. But going out there, like, it was one of those where I walked in and the games they were playing were games I'd never heard of. I hadn't heard about them on Heavy Cardboard. I hadn't heard about them in, common board gaming things. It was like, oh shit, I'm way out of my element. Like, I don't know how I'll fit in here. And thankfully, that was a great crew. Like, I really miss some of what Heavy Cardboard used to be here in Denver for people who were passionate about heavy games, who didn't judge people who were new to heavy games and brought them in and taught them how to play and walked them along the path. And even more so than me, like, I've got a long familiarity with board games, but like Megan, she's been playing board games overall technically longer than I have because she's been playing like Catan for like 12 years. I don't know why Jeff even likes Megan. She's played Catan for 12 years. She keeps playing the same old game over and over again. But she always really appreciated when we go and game at Heavy Cardboard, whether it was before the streams or once they started really streaming and me and her would go on streams occasionally, how open they were to like, hey, you're not a super regular heavy gamer. Like, yeah, you can hold your own with heavy gamers, but this isn't your wheelhouse.
Yeah.
But we can still include you. We can still make sure you feel welcome. Like, we're not going to judge you for not knowing the best moves or the in-depth, like, super studied meta strategy of Food Chain, And that was one of the downsides, that 18XX game I talked about recently, where she felt super, like, people were kind of looking down on her because it was her second time playing any 18XX, and she didn't know all of the minutia, and she never felt that with Heavy Cardboard.
Right.
But I know going into it, like, especially the first few times I went up there, it's like, God damn, I don't want to make a fool out of myself. Like, these are quote unquote serious gamers. You know, it's one thing at game night when you're drinking a bunch of beer and everybody's drinking beer and you're at a brewery and nobody gives a shit. Like there's people playing Cards Against Humanity in that corner. Clearly nobody gives a fuck what you play here. Versus like, oh, this is like somebody's private event where there's like a dozen people and there are 3 games going on that I've never heard of.
Right, yeah.
So yeah, it can be intimidating, you know. And so for me, I tried to, you know, fake it till you make it. Like that's been my strategy for most of life, and that was my strategy there. Like, yeah, I know how to play heavy games, and then sure enough, I won my only game of Great Western Trail, my first time at Heavy Cardboard. I won my first and only game I've ever played of Age of Steam, that first time at Heavy Cardboard. And I was like, cool. Now they think I'm a heavy gamer, and I guess I'm a heavy gamer now. That's just where I went with that. Fake it till you make it. That's how I get through life.
Good.
Yeah. I don't know if that answered at all what you were asking.
No, I think so. I don't know. I sort of drifted off.
It was like 20%, right?
No.
That 20%, man. We keep coming back to it.
Yeah, no. I think so. Just, going in from a new perspective, like you said, yeah.
And we are all dumber for having listened to you.
Jesus Christ.
That's a Billy Madison quote.
Yes. No, I know.
I'm just, for people.
It's the people in the streets.
People in the streets.
What people?
In the streets.
Yeah.
What are they doing?
They're in the streets.
They're under pressure.
Yeah, they're under pressure.
Right on. I don't know. Is there anything else you guys want to add to this? In the grand tradition of Mile High Game Guys discussions, it's been kind of just all over the place.
Yeah, which is fine.
Rambling tangents.
I mean, we can get into listener feedback, and I'm sure that can spark more things.
Okay. So let's move over to some of that. There are, I think, a couple responses over on BGG. We'll start over there.
Sounds good. This first one is from Boyd. Is this episode inspired by your anxiety about playing games with me at Geekway? And he's talking to actually me.
Mm-hmm.
It will be okay. I can't promise it will be easy or enjoyable, but you'll survive, probably. It might even make you appreciate Paul more. That is a tall order.
Yeah.
But no, I would say when the whole Geekway thing was starting to come together in our Slack and things like that, there are people like, hey, we should have a Google Sheets, a Google Sheets that's like, hey, these are games that we should play, and have people sign up for that. And normally I don't do that at all.
Yeah.
Because that's just, that's not one. I like to be like, well, what do I want to play this? But I don't like being locked into things.
You're just like a plastic bag.
Yes.
Kind of floating in the wind.
Yes.
A lot of movie references today.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, but I'm very much a person that, like, if I buy stuff to make something and I put it in my fridge, when I'm hungry, I will look at that and be like, I want anything but that. So
what you're saying is everybody who's scheduled a game with you on that Google Sheet just needs to know that's not going to happen.
No, it's going to happen. This is me putting myself out there more.
Okay.
Of, like I said, normally I like at game night, like you were saying, you can get more social and playing things, but once I get out of that, I definitely become a lot more, not like you said, more shy and things like that. And so, basically it is, I'm looking forward to doing that, but it's definitely a bit of a step for me to be like, well, now I'm just going to sign up and just do, like, schedule something like that. I was like, oh God, I had to schedule a game. That sounds so, like,
yeah. No, and I get that because, like, at HeavyCon, the 2 years I did HeavyCon while I was here in Denver, and then even at Trax, there was a huge, especially with when you're playing longer, heavier games, especially when some of them can run like 6, 7, 8 hours. I mean, it's like, if you wanted to play Twilight Imperium at Geekway, you damn near got to schedule it. Like, hey, guys, make sure you don't have anything going on. We're going to play this.
Yeah.
But that was something that was weird to me when I first ran into a situation where we were, like, scheduling games. And it's like, why don't we just all meet up in the morning at one spot, pick what we want to play, we play that, and when we're done, maybe then we pick what we want to play next?
Yeah.
Like, it's cool having an idea of what you want to play, but do you need to schedule it?
Also, I think it should be fine here, but it's, I definitely still would not schedule games like, when Gen Con has like, oh, schedule games here, because I don't want to get in a situation where, like you did with that 18XX game, where you're just like, oh, these people are not good people. I don't want to play a game with them. And so I want to have at least that little bit of
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, like they seemed really cool until we.
No,
started.
exactly.
Like, we were like an hour into the game, and it was like I don't want to play with them anymore.
Yeah,
and I don't want to be the guy to be like, no, I don't want to play with you anymore.
gotcha.
Because I really struggle to be that blunt with people.
Right. Hence why you have 2 jobs right now.
It's exactly why I'm working 2 jobs right now. God fucking damn it. Real quick before we move on, Zach, so kind of going into the shy thing, because like I said, I experienced some of a similar thing. So I go back to my first Geek Way, where I flew out early, and that was one of my first times being at a convention by myself. Because before that, we'd done like Gen Con and stuff where we at least a couple of us drove together. And so walking around looking for games, like I'm at a convention, I know people are looking for games. I mean, shit, people have the fucking looking for gamers stands. And I walked around for a while, and I eventually found a group that was playing Networks. And I was like, I know Networks. I love Networks. They're looking for a Networks player. Sure, I'll jump in. But I know like the thing for me that came up regularly in that situation, and even going into that game of Networks, was this idea that like I didn't want to impose myself on somebody else's group. It was like, even in that one, it was like there was 3 friends who were playing a game that could play up to 5, and so it felt like they just were like, oh, we have room for more people to stick up a player sign. And so for me, it was like an overcoming this like idea, like I didn't want to impose.
Right.
So I'm curious for you, who mentions that you also have kind of a shyness aspect. Is it similar to that where you don't want to impose, or is it more on the other side where like
it's a more selfish thing of I don't know these people, and so really like it's sort of the unknown in the sense that like I know how to act with certain people, and I know I can act differently with, or other people, sort of reading the room sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it's like I don't know how these people are, and I don't want to put myself in a position where I'm acting different than I should, if that makes sort of weird sense.
Different than the group expects.
Yeah, and then also I don't know. And especially in a convention where it's an uneven, even though it'd be like a Geek Way where we've been there before and all that, it's still an unfamiliar place that there's just too many sort of unknown things for me that I'm just like, nah, I'm okay. Whereas at game night, I can do that if people are like, especially like you, hey Zach, these people need one more player. Okay,
I do that shit all the time.
Yeah,
go talk to Zach. He's a friendly guy.
Okay. So no, that's just me being like, I don't know enough about what's going on, and I don't want to do the wrong shit. So self-conscious, basically. So yeah.
So before we move on too much, Jeff, I just wanted to touch base over here with you in the corner.
You doing okay? You need some water? You need some?
I got plenty of water.
Do you have any of that? Do you have any kind of a self-conscious with playing with other people, or are you just fucking good to dive in and go fucking bonkers?
I want to say no just because I've seen it many times. Maybe not for that, but I know especially at Gen Con and stuff, and I was just like, Jeff, look, it's Isaac Childress, the guy that did Gloomhaven.
And Jeff's just like,
and you're like, oh, cool. Wham. And I was like, okay. Yeah.
So do you have any of that?
No.
No?
No.
Okay.
That's why he's our social person or whatever.
Our media.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So let's continue with BGG response then. Sorry for that aside.
No, it's fine. This is from Canada, Jeff Calgary, whatever. Jeff Calgary.
Right. Yeah, whatever. Canada.
Calgary, Jeff.
Yeah. No, I Jeff's. Yes, Jeff Calgary is what we're going with.
Yep. All right.
That's what we've gone with. I game with the same core group every Friday night, but we alternate between being close to the 4 of us one week, and the other going to a couple local board game Facebook groups on the other Friday. This lets the 4 of us dive into 1 or 2 games for a couple months. We vote on what gets played, versus meeting new people and playing a wider array. 3 of the 4 of us are parents, so game nights start late and are into medium weight games, no splotters or 18xx's. But if it's a light game, it doesn't get replayed unless it's a filler. All of us have met through our local Facebook group, but have since hung out outside of just playing games. For the open night on the alternating weeks, we play a much larger variety of games and often have 2 games going on at a time. Last week, we had 2 simultaneous games of Root. Some weeks end up being party games or dexterity games, or we'll even have a bunch of 1v1 games out. We've done a pirate-themed game night and a dinosaur game night just for some variety. Most of them ended up being good, but then Most of them have ended up being good, but there have been some with some of the random people who come through that end up being let down due to common things like being distracted, high AP, very different game tastes, etc. But we have no plans to stop the open game night. Outside of those, I played some lighter games with some of the other couples who enjoy the social activity. Typically, these are escape room games, paper, backlight, weight, dexterity, or real-time games like 5 Minute Marvel. One great experience I had was with my two other older sisters who were visiting, and I convinced them to play Pandemic Iberia. We played a lot of mass market games growing up, but this was their first time playing a quote-unquote hobby board game. After the first game, my oldest sister couldn't believe how much fun it was, even though we lost and we immediately reset, switched some characters, and played again. She even commented that she didn't know board games could even be that much fun. Overall, though, I still find my local convention under 1,000 attendees per day to be the most challenging, and I don't consider myself strongly introverted or extroverted and fine in social situations. Do you guys feel the same, or is there another social situation around gaming that is hard for you?
So I feel like you and I, Zach, have answered this pretty thoroughly
Yes.
about where we still feel some of that same struggle despite being that varying degree of introverted to extroverted.
Yes.
Jeff, you kind of answered that, but just to throw the last part of that, is there any other social situation that you find hard? Like gaming related?
Not really.
Okay.
The only thing I can think of off the top of my head is if I know like literally no one.
Uh-huh.
So like at that Gen Con bar event,
Yes.
like I recognized some people, but I had no idea who anyone was.
Yeah.
Like personally.
Yes.
Yeah. That can be hard. That is the hardest, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Totally new situation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If you're just by it, it's just like, I don't.
But I can regularly get past that to not have a problem either.
Right. Okay.
Maybe it's just high level board game hobby celebrities that I have problems around.
Yeah.
Celebrity status. We did have a single multiple point response over on Twitter when I tweeted this. Thanks to our awesome supporter V. So she starts off. I am definitely a social gamer, so for me, finding folks to play with who are willing to banter is a huge deal. I also look for folks who aren't so serious/competitive that they get upset and make the game uncomfortable. I don't know why V plays games with me. That being
When's
said,
the last time she's played a game with you?
Game Lounge,
Okay.
like less than a month ago.
Okay. I feel like I've seen her a lot since then. So, maybe.
She invites me to play a lot more games than I'm able to attend. She invites me to play games like every Saturday and Sunday night, and I'm always like, I'm just getting off a 12-hour shift. I'm sorry, I'm exhausted. I'm going to go home and not do anything.
Maybe that's the reason why she invites
She
you.
just, it's intentional.
Yeah.
Knows
He
you're not
won't.
coming.
He won't say yes.
Yeah.
But he'll feel included.
Exactly.
Okay. She continues. That being said, I'm not exactly known for my resilience in the face of stress, so take that with a grain of salt. I try to avoid playing games with people who are annoyed at distraction and who require everyone to be focused and on point the entire game, which is definitely true. Like, I know she likes to play games where it's a game that's great for V because it's a laid-back environment. She's not going to want to come play 18xx with me and literally anyone else. Continuing on, she says, that isn't a negative trait for a gamer. It's just something I can't give as a fairly absent-minded person. I also do my best to avoid folks who start to ruin the game for everyone else when they decide they don't like it by being negative or refusing to play. Again, I don't know why she plays games with me.
No, yeah. I'm like, man, there's a lot of things. I was like, well, these are negatives about. Maybe it's that we're willing to see those and we're trying to change those.
I've been fighting mine for so fucking long. I'm well aware of my negative traits. She continues. I try to be a good player by having a good attitude when playing games. Although I am known for swearing, it's never in real anger. And that's a key thing.
Yeah.
And you can tell the difference most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
I love board games, but I am not good at them. And that's fine. Even though I am aware that I am unlikely to win, I give my best effort with each game and attempt to make whoever I'm playing with have to work for the victory. I am rarely a sore loser anyway. Although, on the rare occasion that I do win a game, I do, to my great embarrassment, gloat sometimes. I will do better.
No, I remember when she beat me in
It was
Hanami Koji,
glorious.
she just ran, Mike!
It was And the best thing about her is considering how good of a loser she is, like, and then it's so rare that it's just like I'm happy for that. That's amazing.
Exactly, yeah.
You're being you, and that's great.
Mhm.
And that's the thing that I feel like can be kind of picked up on by a lot of people is like when you're just being you, you can get a lot of leeway for some of things that might otherwise be negative. Like, yes, if somebody just every time they won ran up and was like, "Oh, I beat you," it'd get really annoying. But like in V's case, like it fits very well with her and her personality, and so it's endearing and not annoying.
Yeah,
and that's the tricky thing with some of this stuff is like any one of these things that we say is like something we don't like about a gamer. I guarantee you we could probably find somebody we regularly game with who embodies that exact trait.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a difference of like, I was going to say authenticity, but I don't even know if that's true.
Yeah.
Like sometimes it's just a difference in the person.
Well, it's
like
a difference in person, and I think just
your experiences with the
your
person.
experience with the person and knowing you just have more experience with the person, so you know when they're acting a certain way, what they're true, like you can see beyond the just surface level stuff.
Yeah.
So that's where it's like I can be a very, some of my wins can be very what's the word I'm looking for? Like
you got to give me something to go on.
Not shitty, but like I can be
like gloating a bit, like talking shit, like a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah, I can gloat a lot because
what some people would say is not a good winner, but in the right circumstances,
exactly.
Like your friends just know, like that's just you, like giving a hard time because hey, I beat you guys again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, especially when it's a game where it's like mostly randomness, so it's like taking credit for a lot of things that weren't yours.
Okay.
That I can do that, which hopefully people realize it in jest. Like, but that's why
always the hope.
Yeah.
People know you're joking when you're joking.
Yes. But that's occasionally, sometimes I don't want to play with a lot of new people because it's like, what if I get into the game and I start doing that and then I realize, oh no, they don't realize that I'm acting like a jerk. Ironically,
like if you beat me in a game of war,
yeah,
you'd really gloat about it.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that both of us know that you won that game before we ever started.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas somebody who's new might just be like, wow, he's being kind of a dick.
Exactly.
Like, does he not realize this is a random game and nothing he did affected?
No, it was destiny that I won, Adrian.
Yeah.
God looked upon both of us and crowns me the winner.
Crushed it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if I just said that to a random person, I don't.
No, not at all. You sat down with God's chosen person, and now you lost.
Yeah,
that was your mistake.
That was your mistake.
Oh God, nobody's ever gonna want to play games with us after they listen to this episode. Like, you're all dicks, except for Jeff. Mm-hmm. Jeff has managed to come out of this episode like a fucking golden god, a shining beacon
in last place.
In last place.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They really want to play with you.
Yeah, exactly. They're going to be like, Jeff's going to lose, and he's going to be really friendly and awesome about it. God, I want to play games with Jeff.
Yeah.
He's going to help me win.
Adrian's either going to win, or he's going to lose and gloat. Zach's either going to lose, or he's going to win and gloat.
Or Adrian's
going to either win or lose and bitch.
Yeah,
Zach's going to lose or win and gloat.
Yeah.
Adrian will bitch and then win.
Yes. Even more.
I honestly cannot remember the last time that actually worked for me. That was my hallmark, like trademark move. Yeah. And now it's the curve. I get to like second place.
Yeah.
I bitched my way to like second.
And we're like,
I think the Expanse was the
third.
last time that worked out for you.
Did I win one of the Expanse
You were
games?
second place in the Expanse.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There was a fair amount of me bitching about nobody trading with me in Ponzi on Wednesday, and I got second.
Yeah.
It has now fallen. I don't crest to first anymore. I fall just short at second.
Yeah.
Everybody's wise to my tricks.
Oh yeah. No, Jeff and I, we're definitely like all right, you can keep bitching if you want, Adrian. We're not letting up.
Yeah. We're going to keep kicking you until this is over or you stop breathing. Right on. I think that's a good spot to wrap this all up. Jeff, unless you have anything else you want to say, because I think the word count for this episode is like 70, 20, and 10. So you've got room.
I continue to be the best board gamer here.
Fair enough.
Statistically.
That wraps everything up. Thanks, everybody, for listening to this one. If you want to get a hold of us and let us know your thoughts on who you game with, what you look for in the people you choose to game with, or what kind of a gamer you try to be, what kind of traits you try to bring to the table, feel free to get a hold of us through all of our different ways you can do so. You can email us.
Emails at milehighgameguys.com.
You can jump over to the thread we have about this specific episode over on our Board Game Geek Guild number 2731. You can tweet any of us about this. I tweet under at MHGameGuys.
I am Zach_MHGG.
I'm Jeff_MHGG.
You can also leave us comments on our Facebook and our Instagram, both of them /MileHighGameGuys. Or you can join our Slack channel by going through the convoluted steps of going to our website, milehighgameguys.com, clicking on any of the Mile High Game Guys episodes, and in those episodes, amongst all of the other links and show notes, there's a link to the Slack. You just click that link. It's open to anyone. We don't charge for Slack access. You just click, you join, and then you come talk a bunch of shit about this episode or whatever other thing that we've ever talked about, or shows, or anything. Just come talk shit in our Slack channel.
Yeah.
It's 80% of what happens there.
Yes. We've got Game of Thrones spoilers. We got spoiler channels, not just free range spoilers.
Just free reign. No, there's specific channels.
Yeah. So Endgame. That we even have one for Star Wars that is intentionally misspelled.
My favorite thing about that one is the misspelling for that. Is it's Star Wars? Like if you wanted to make it fit, it could be Star Wars because it's TOR. Or is it?
It's ROS.
ROS. Yeah, so Star Wars Revenge of the Sith. So it's the spoiler channel for episode 3.
No.
It's not.
It's ROTS. I mean,
yeah.
It's not really.
Yeah. But the misspelling is Spallers, I want to say it
Spallers,
is.
yeah.
Spallers.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's a bunch of great channels for all different kinds of things, and just a great place to come hang out with some awesome gamers and, talk shit or talk about games or hang out, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
There are also links on those same show notes to that guild that I talked about earlier, as well as our Patreon. If you want to support the show, financially, you can do so through our Patreon, patreon.com/milehighgameguys. You pledge $1, Jeff talks shit about you on a Wednesday episode based off whatever random knowledge he can glean from your username or your picture or anything.
General stalking.
Light stalking. We don't go in depth here.
No.
If you want to pledge more than $1, then we'll just thank you profusely for supporting the show in any way, shape, or form. Because we appreciate that kind of thing. So I think that pretty much wraps all of this up. Be sure to check us out next week. We'll have our normal Wednesday banter, and we'll be back with some kind of a Friday specific episode. I don't think we've really picked it out yet, because that's not how we do things here.
There might be some Geekway stuff too.
Yeah, it might be a very, very Geekway centric week, since Zach and Jeff will be there. I will not, unfortunately. But yeah, thanks everybody for tuning in. Hopefully you've enjoyed the show. As always, I have been your host, Adrian.
I am still Zach.
And I'm fourth place, Jeff.
Bye.
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 Pretty sure that's jester hair.
I don't know whether that's in your throat. Like, you see it and you're just like, yep.
That's how I vacuum the house.
I would see it's the only way you can do it.
Exactly.
It's either that or pay $1,700 for a vacuum. I'm not doing that.
No.
It's a nice Dyson.
Yeah.
It's like a ride-on.
Yeah.
A ride-on vacuum. I want a big enough house that I have a riding vacuum.
Size of a retail store.
Yeah.
Punchboard Media, where we all
bring something
to the table.
Pull up a chair
at punchboardmedia.com.